This is prone hip rotation, and all that means is you're laying on your stomach while you try and rotate your hip. And while we worked a little bit in another video on 90-90 rotation, we're thinking again about that carryover functionally, and that some rotators change depending on if your leg is in front of you or behind you. And that just has to do with its attachments, its origins and insertions. Not super important to know, just maybe try each of the stretches and see where you maybe feel restriction, and then just think that I'm restricted, so this must apply to me. The important stuff though is that you set your stability up through your midsection before you put any load and resistance through this exercise. So this is a principle that we carry through with a lot of our movements, and that we try and keep a relatively neutral spine and torso. It's okay to train them out of neutral, but for the purposes of the exercise, we're trying to train it in a neutral position. And that's explained more in some of our theory videos. But for this, from the side, your start position is going to be laying on your stomach like this, with your hands sort of interlaced a little bit, and creating a little bit of resistance and tension through your upper back. So to do that, your elbows, I'm going to be trying to reach this right elbow towards that direction, and this left elbow towards the mirror. And by creating that tension, I'm kicking in my shoulder blades and my upper back tightens up. The second cue is that my tummy under here, it's like I'm trying to lift it a little bit away from the ground. Not hugely, but you'll see what it does is it tucks my pelvis under. So if I'm here and I do that movement, now my pelvis tucks under and my back lengthens a bit. So it's not overly arched like this. It's tucked under a little bit. So we hold that tension and making sure you can breathe and breathe comfortably here. And then you check your rotation. That's internal rotation and that's external rotation. You might be tempted with external rotation to lift this pocket off the ground like this. And you're trying to stop before that happens. Not a bad thing, it just means you're rotating more through your back and less through the hip. So as a stretching drill, think of it more like an active stretch. If you've got some help at home, then you could get someone to give you a little bit of overpressure, and that would mean just gently pushing the ankle a little bit more towards the direction that you're trying to stretch. But for starters, just use your own body weight. So it looks like this. We want to do internal rotation on my right leg. So I've set up, fingers are interlaced, elbows reaching wide, belly's tucked in a little bit. I can breathe comfortably. And my right leg is now going to go this way. What's happening though is I'm not relaxing here. I'm trying to pull my leg down. So I'm trying to get this foot to touch the ground. And you might feel a bit of a cramping sensation around your pocket. And you're holding, holding, holding. If you're going to do the external rotation, you do the same thing. Keeping the hip down and trying to touch my foot down to the ground. You might feel your glutes tighten up a little bit. And as you do more of this, holding for a good 10 seconds or so, you should start to feel that range improves. The whole time you're doing it, don't lose the neutral position you've worked hard to get. So don't arch your back. If I were to rotate, don't overly arch to try and achieve the movement. And if I went this way, don't overly rotate through the back to try and achieve the movement. Keep neutral and just work with what your hip allows. To add a bit of resistance, if you haven't got any help at home, you could tie a rubber band to something sturdy like a heavy table, maybe a couch. I've got a kettlebell over here. And all you're going to do is wrap it around underneath your ankle. Come back into your same position. Get a little bit of resistance on the band. Set yourself up, fingers interlaced, elbows reaching wide, belly in a little bit, breathing comfortably, coming up with the band and pulling into external rotation. Pulling, 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 still breathing comfortably, not letting my hip or pocket leave the ground. Don't rotate through the back, rotate just through the hip. If you wanted to do internal rotation, anchor would have to be on the other side so that the resistance is pulling you this way and your foot is trying to push the band this way. Work up to a total of about 90 to 100 seconds in volume. So that could be 10 times 10 seconds, or it could be 3 times 33 seconds or 30 seconds, somewhere about there. And once you reach that, increase resistance or start using your range in more functional movements. Functional just being things that apply to the task you're trying to do. So maybe you want to get better at jumping, practice jumping. So let me know how you get on with that.